It's happening under the radar. They're trying to do it under the radar. But here on MeidasTouch, we are calling it out. There is a massive shift under Trump's DOJ away from prosecuting white-collar crime, creating yet another two-tiered system in America. Of course, the budget creating the largest transfer of wealth in this country, and now the justice system treating everyday criminals versus white-collar criminals very differently. My name is Dina Doll. Let's look into this. So there are two DOJ memos, one from Todd Blanche, one from the head of the criminal division, Todd Giotti, and they both direct the DOJ attorneys basically to allow companies and white-collar criminals or alleged white-collar criminals to self-report, to pay a fee and a fine and get away with not being prosecuted. This also comes after Trump issued an executive order ordering to stop the overcriminalization around federal regulations, basically saying that if people violate federal regulations, they shouldn't be charged with crimes so much. Now, let's just for 1 second step back. I mean, Republicans control Congress. If they don't like the regulations, they can change it. They are the ones that institute regulations. They're in charge of the executive branch. If they don't like regulations from the different agencies, they can change it. But no, instead, they are directing the DOJ just not to prosecute those cases as much. Now, as we know, white crime affects all of us. It is not a victimless crime, but it is usually done by the rich, by the wealthy, by corporate America. And perhaps this is why the Trump DOJ is directing him not to do it. And if you just take a look at the memo that the DOJ put out there saying, directing their attorneys to not prosecute him, you can hear what they say here. They say, overbroad and unchecked corporate and white-collar enforcement burdens U.S. businesses and harms U.S. interests. The vast majority of American businesses are legitimate enterprises working to deliver value for their shareholders and quality products and services for customers. Prosecutors must avoid overreach that punishes risk-taking and hinders innovation. For these reasons, the division's policies must strike an appropriate balance between the need to effectively identify, investigate, and prosecute corporate and individuals' criminal wrongdoing while minimizing unnecessary burdens on American enterprise. Wouldn't that be nice if they had that kind of consideration for people here without documentation, instead of throwing them on the floor, including American citizens, calling them illegal, even if they aren't, or calling them criminals, even if they aren't. They are not giving due process to people who are not here undocumented. But here are these businesses, and it is true, of course, the vast majority of American businesses are lawful. But the fact is, prosecutors already have discretion over whether or not to bring cases. They are already not willing and going to bring a case against a company that doesn't have strong evidence for wrongdoing. The fact is, these memos, the new policy is trying to encourage companies, corporations to self-deport wrongdoing and to pay a fine. So if you get this, unlike other people accused of a crime or other people accused of being here undocumented and the way they're being treated without due process. And this new DOJ policy that says, hey, you can just come forward. You can tell us that you did something wrong. You can pay a fine and then you can leave. The fact is these corporations or wealthy people who often commit white-collar crime have a lot of money. So paying a fine is perhaps the least deterrent and the least amount of punishment you could impose on somebody committing a white-collar crime. But this is the new DOJ policy. Speaking with a defense attorney, this is in real time, practically just dissolving white-collar prosecutions because of their ability to self-report and take a fine and really actually not trying to prosecute him for any kind of criminal sentencing, prison time, jail punishment, which is the real deterrent for white collar crime. That memo also goes on to say it is critical to American prosperity to promote policies that acknowledge law-abiding companies and companies that are willing to learn from their mistakes and provide those companies with transparency from the department. I mean, like, just that second, let's just take that sentence for a second. Law-abiding corporations that are willing to learn from their mistake by nature are companies that actually have committed a crime but are willing to do better. I can imagine pretty much every person caught up in the criminal justice system would feel the same way, that basically they have followed the law and made a mistake and committed a crime. How many of those people are going to get the benefit of the doubt and the willingness by the Department of Justice to dismiss their case with a fine? Can you imagine the number of people in this country? I mean, we're seeing it in real time, how Trump treats people in this country that he doesn't care about. And the minorities, the Black and brown people caught up in the criminal justice system, not afforded that same benefit of the doubt that somebody who's rich and powerful afforded. This is a two-tier Department of Justice. Under the first term, we saw white collar crime go way down. It was in 2019, it was the lowest amount of white collar prosecutions in decades. And here we are just 6 months to the term and already hearing accounts from people on the ground how much this is going away because of this new self-reporting mechanism, the ability to have it dismissed with a fine. The two-tiered system in this country is here also with the criminal justice system. According to the DOJ, this is their talking point is they're trying to allocate resources in order to go after cartels, national security, immigration. Well, interestingly, prosecutions for drug crimes is way down in this country because Trump has allocated resources to going after immigrants, people who are not actually criminals, but he just doesn't like in this country. So here you have the DOJ saying they're planning on going after cartels at the same time. In actuality, prosecutions around cartels in the U.S. going down. And at the same time, seeing Trump bomb ships off the coast of Venezuela, supposedly for cartels, even though they may have been fishermen, but really because most likely he wants to just have regime change in Venezuela, who is an oil producing company or country, has these vast oil reserves. You have to not just hear what they say, you have to see what they do. And if they really were trying to allocate resources away from traditional white collar criminals to prosecutions of cartels, we would be seeing it in real time, but we're actually seeing the opposite. The watchdog group Public Citizen has created a tracker of the white-collar cases Trump DOJ is dismissing. They say they have tracked about 500 cases against corporations. 160 of them have been dismissed so far. This is, again, just 6 months in. And the list is not exhaustive. And let's just put it really bluntly. Not only is Trump soft on crime, but the entire Republican Party is soft on crime because they like to act as if they care about crime, notwithstanding the pardon of the January 6th insurrectionists, but also here, these affect everyday people. They like to act as if white-collar crime is a victimless crime. It is not. You can see in just the description on some of these cases. One of the cases that the DOJ got involved with and helped the company involved an OSHA violation, specifically a workplace fall hazard and unsafe ladder violation. The DOJ, Trump's DOJ, final settlement reduced the penalty to the company by 50%. This is how little Trump and all the Republicans that back Trump care about the American worker. The other case that was dismissed by the DOJ. I mean, we're talking about 160 cases here. I'm just giving you a glimmer of them. This one had to do with a company tricking people into trying to sign up for fundraising, road races, and other events into enrolling in its annual subscription discount club. The DOJ had brought this previously. The Trump DOJ dismissing it, despite the fact that this corporation was basically stealing from people, taking money, or at least that was the allegation that could have been proved or not proved if it had continued on. The DOJ never allowed that to go on, instead putting their hand on the thumb of justice in favor of the corporations and against the people who apparently had money taken from them in this fraudulent way from the company. So again and again, this public citizen tracker showing how much the white collar criminal prosecutions, how much the DOJ is benefiting white collar alleged criminals at the expense of the American worker, at the American people who need the protection, frankly, of the government and the justice system from those kind of fraudulent actions. It's exactly then that we need a justice system to hold these large corporations into account. It is too difficult for an individual who had their money taken from them do that. So a really big issue that is going under the radar, very slowly and quietly, the DOJ is trying to basically dismantle, dissolve, do away with white criminal prosecutions at the harm of the American people, the American worker. And here at MeidasTouch, calling out Trump and every single Republican who stays silent. This is crime, as important crime as every other crime, and should be treated as such. My name is Dina Doll. Hit the free subscribe button if you haven't already so you can get updates on this and many other cases to come.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.